It was not even a competition out there today. Hendrick Motorsports annihilates the field at Dover, sweeping the top 4 finishing positions, and of course, it's the familiar number 48 in victory lane at the Monster Mile. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. We're talking all things Dover, the Dryden 400. We're going to talk about Hendrick Motorsports' dominance. We'll talk about Joe Gibbs Racing's really weird up and down day. We'll talk about Stewart-Haas Racing's continued struggles. A few smaller teams have standout performances. We'll dive deeper into Kyle Larson's second straight runner-up finish. We'll talk about all that and a whole lot more here today. But first, this episode is sponsored by HTP America. HTP has been in the welding industry for 40 years. They have their own line of welding equipment, everything you could possibly need, whether you're a hobbyist or a full-on industrial fabricator. They can customize their machines to fit whatever criteria you need. HTP is well known for their Italian-made machines and excellent customer service. HTP is your one-stop shop for all your welding needs, and you can take advantage of a special offer for fans of this show. Use this code at checkout for 10% off your order if you head to usaweld.com. That link is down in the description. Enter this promo code, you'll get 10% off your order. Check them out, HTP America. Visit usaweld.com to see what they are all about. Thank you to HTP America for sponsoring Out of the Groove. We've got a lot to talk about. It's the Monster Mile, the one and only time NASCAR visits the Monster Mile this year. The second Dover date was given to another Dover-owned track, Nashville Superspeedway, where we'll race at next month. Very exciting, but as a result, this race becomes all the more exclusive. It was great to see in some areas it looked like very packed grandstands. The sun was out most of the day until the very end. The storm, the oncoming storm was threatening for a while there. They said 20,000 fans at Dover. It looked like more than that to me, but I don't know, maybe it's just TV makes all the little dots in the crowd just sort of morph together into one giant blob. Maybe I'm just blind. That could be it. You know, when they showed that Kyle Busch fan in the crowd, the guy dressed as Kyle Busch, I was actually cleaning my glasses, so I didn't have my glasses on. When I looked up for a split second, I thought Kyle Busch, who'd had engine issues earlier in the day, I thought Kyle Busch had actually gone up into the grandstands as some sort of like publicity stunt. I was about to die laughing. It had me fooled for a moment. So the point is, my vision is terrible. Maybe there were only like 10 fans there, but it looked like a lot. One thing I could see clearly was the smile on pretty much everyone's faces. From the pre-race show with all the TV personnel, with all the drivers at their cars without masks, which is a new policy NASCAR has lifted recently. No masks are required in the outdoor areas of the garage and pit road. We talked about that on the show this past week. After the race, with Alex Bowman celebrating his second win of the season, that smile was huge, was gorgeous. It was a great vibe today, a great atmosphere to watch a race, and it was a pretty decent NASCAR race overall. We'll put this thing on the groovy gauge at the end. I want to focus this episode talking about Hendrick Motorsports, specifically Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson, your top 2 finishers today. I want to talk about some of the other teams that ran well, some teams that ran quite poorly. We'll talk about that. So that's going to be the focus of this episode. First, a quick overview of your top finishers. Hendrick Motorsports 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe this is the first time in Hendrick Motorsports' illustrious history that they have swept the top 4 finishing positions. So congratulations to them. They were virtually untouchable today, especially Kyle Larson through those first 2 stages. Alex Bowman's pit crew got him out front of Larson in stage 3, and he never relinquished the lead from there. Those 2 cars especially were clearly the class of the field. Chase Elliott showed strength. William Byron continues his impressive top 10 streak. That's 11 straight top 10s for young William Byron. Congrats to Hendrick Motorsports. We'll talk more about them in a moment. Joey Logano overcame damage in the nose of his car, poor handling most of the day to finish inside the top 5. Good for him. Kevin Harvick gets another top 10. Once again, just dragging what's left of Stewart-Haas Racing into some form of relevancy. So great run for Harvick. He was there all day. Denny Hamlin, the only Toyota driver in the top 10. A weird day for Joe Gibbs Racing. I think many of us expected JGR to run very well today. It's a great track for Martin Truex Jr., who was just coming off a dominant performance at Darlington. He was a non-factor today. Tyler Reddick with Richard Childress Racing gets a top 10. Great for him. Daniel Suarez gets Trackhouse's second top 10 of the season. A good pit call midway through stage 3 to stay out with only like 5 laps on the tires. Got them some track position, which they did not lose. And Cole Custer finishes top 10. Maybe I was too hard on Stewart-Haas Racing. They did get 2 drivers in the top 10 for like, I don't know, maybe the first time this season. I mean, for the longest time, Kevin Harvick was the only driver on their team with any top 10s. Eric Almirola got a top 10 a few weeks ago. I think this is Cole Custer's first top 10, so baby steps. Oh, Custer got a top 10 at Talladega? Oh, I didn't know that. That's Talladega. This one means more to me. The rest of SHR, of course, found the outside wall at one point or another in today's event. Eric Almirola had the wind knocked out of him, appeared to be okay, was released from the infield care center, interviewed on FS1. He seemed all right. If more than anything, his ego is bruised because, goodness me, Stewart-Haas Racing and that 10 team especially have not had anything go right this season. More often than not, Eric Almirola's day is ending on a wrecker. They are in jeopardy of falling outside the top 30 in points. We are more than a third into the season, and we're talking about an SHR driver on the brink of falling outside the top 30. It doesn't get much worse than that. So Eric Almirola, really hoping that team figures it out sooner rather than later, because it's already almost too late. Bubba Wallace finishes 11th, not too bad. Similar to Suarez, they employed that similar pit strategy. They gained some track position by not pitting because they only had a few laps on their tires. And similar to Suarez, he maintained that track position pretty well. 11th place is now the best finish in 23XI Racing's young history. They still have not quite gotten that first top 10 of the season, but 11th beats their previous best of 16th. So a solid day for Bubba Wallace, especially given that most of his Toyota teammates are nowhere to be found. Blaney finishes 12th. Both Chip Ganassi racers finished inside the top 15. Kurt Busch ran up in the top 10 early on today, still looking for that first top 10 since Homestead. Busch began this year pretty well. He had a couple top 10s early in the season, but since the third race of the season, it's gone way south for Kurt Busch. They're outside the top 20 in points coming into today. 13th, small steps forward, I guess. Ross Chastain, another decent top 15. They've shown better speed recently, but nothing to get too excited about. Also, Austin Dillon gets both RCR cars decent finishes today. Austin Dillon's still inside the top 16 in points. Also want to give a shout out to Chris Buescher, who ended up finishing outside the top 15, but he got some stage points in stage 1. He came into the day just barely inside the top 16. I believe he still will stay inside the top 16 after today, so that Roush Fenway team showing some serious progress. Last week's winner, Martin Truex Jr., finishes 19th. They led the first 15 laps of this race, but the moment Kyle Larson got by him for the race lead, he just went backwards basically for the rest of the day. He got some front end damage as well. That 19 car was evil, it sounded like, most of the afternoon. Rarely cracked the top 10, ends up 19th. Really disappointing given that in his last 9 races at Dover, Martin Truex Jr. only had one finish outside the top 4. Make that 2 in the last 10, because today he was a non-factor. Very, very surprising. His teammate Kyle Busch finishes 27th. Could have been a whole lot worse. On lap 20, he radioed his crew that they were blowing up. Their day was done. He said, pack it up, we're going home, boys. They brought it down pit road, went 7 laps down, but figured out the issue and got that car back up to speed. It was an engine issue, I think a valve stem issue, or valve spring issue perhaps. I'm not sure that was ever confirmed, but they got that car back up to speed, and unfortunately Kyle Busch then was forced to run the rest of the race multiple laps down. But he does finish 27th, gained about probably 8 or 10 spots if compared to if he just parked it. So little small victories like that could come into play at the end of the regular season, but yeah, I don't know. With the current points format, the small victories like this don't mean quite as much as they used to. I will say that. Christopher Bell was a non-factor today either. TV didn't mention Christopher Bell too much. He finishes 21st. Someone on Twitter said that they saw him with the hood up at one point on pit road, so maybe he was having a mechanical issue, but also very surprising. I expected Bell to run really well at Dover. A good track for him. Historically, they were terrible today. Never a factor. So overall, a pretty rough day for Joe Gibbs Racing by their standards. Only one car in the top 18. That's not very good. Matt DiBenedetto, another Penske affiliate driver, was also a non-factor today. Finished 24th. Not sure what was going on over there. That's quite disappointing. The fact that Team Penske got 2 drivers in the top 12, Brad Keselowski ends up, I believe, 18th? 16th. That's actually not terrible given how unhealthy Team Penske is right now. Brad Keselowski, his crew chief, Jeremy Bullins, was out for the second straight week due to COVID protocols. Joey Logano's crew chief, Paul Wolfe, was out this week as well because of a lug nut suspension from the week before. Brad Keselowski's car chief apparently was also out today. Apparently recently had a surgery. So almost like a normal stick and ball sports team, Team Penske just needs to get healthy. They need to get these guys off the injured list, off the IR, get them back healthy, get their starting lineup good again. But so considering all that, considering all the health factors at play here, the fact that Penske got a couple guys in the top 12, not terrible. And who else is worth mentioning? Chase Briscoe, the other SHR guy, finished 35th. He cut a tire down early on in this race, trying to keep from going a lap down. Maybe pushed it a little too hard, might have got loose, might have cut a right rear first, hard to say. He got into the wall, finished 35th, so again, up and down, but mostly down day for Stewart-Haas Racing. Those are your top finishers. Now, I want to talk about Hendrick Motorsports and some of those guys at the top of the pylon a bit more. Something that was actually mentioned by Mike Joy during the broadcast today, Hendrick Motorsports is the youngest multi-car team in the Cup Series. Youngest in terms of driver age. If you average out the ages of Larson, Elliott, Byron, and Bowman, and compare that to the average ages of all the other teams' lineups and rosters, Hendrick Motorsports is the youngest multi-car team in the NASCAR Cup Series. But this year, at least, they've been arguably the most consistently successful. 3 of their 4 drivers have wins. Chase Elliott does not have a win, but he has a very comfortable points cushion, looking really good as far as making the playoffs. Just needs maybe a few more playoff points to hopefully make some noise late in the season and try to back up his championship. But Kyle Larson has 1 win, and he now has 3 second-place finishes. Alex Bowman, surprisingly, now that we suddenly look at it, he's only the 2nd driver this year to win more than 1 race. I mean, Bowman's kind of had an up and down off season. He's probably been the most inconsistent driver out of Hendrick, but when he's been on his game, he's gotten the results. 2 wins this year, trailing only Martin Truex in the wins category. Gets it done today as well. And then we've already talked about William Byron. You want to talk about consistency. It doesn't look much better than William Byron this year. Got a win at Homestead early in the season. Has gone on to, he hasn't finished outside the top 10 since then. So William Byron's on a heck of a roll. A roll that quite frankly has not been seen by Hendrick Motorsports since Jeff Gordon's incredible 2007 season. So if you're being compared to Jeff Gordon in 07, you know you're doing something right. William Byron is another top 5 today. But Hendrick Motorsports took all that consistency a step forward today. They made a heck of a statement, sweeping the top 4 finishing results, and as I said earlier, it was not even close. Kyle Larson won stage 1 by more than 7 seconds. He also won stage 2. Chase Elliott was in 2nd. And then in stage 3, the Hendrick cars just could not be passed. Byron, Larson, and Bowman all led laps at some point today. And Chase Elliott had to start at the rear because they did fail inspection. It was the 4th time this year in just 13 races now that Elliott has had to start at the rear. Got to clean that up. But Chase Elliott started at the rear, still drove all the way up as high as 2nd in today's race. I'm not sure if he led a lap. He might have led a lap like under caution. I just don't remember him taking lead under green or anything like that. But the point is, all 4 Hendrick drivers today did something impressive. They all finished inside the top 4 as well. Hendrick has to be feeling really good about where their program is at, not just at the 550 horsepower tracks where Byron has won, where Larson has won this year, but now also at the 750 horsepower tracks. I know we only go to Dover once, and there's not many tracks on the schedule with a concrete surface. In fact, it's really just Dover, Nashville, and I guess Bristol. Either way, it's not a super common type of track, but now this is Hendrick Motorsports' I think 2nd win with the 750 package, and they've both been Alex Bowman actually. But that just tells me that Hendrick Motorsports right now is a pretty well-rounded program. Rudy Fugle joining William Byron this season as his crew chief was a huge move. I said it at the time during the offseason. That was going to be one of the biggest moves of the offseason, as big as almost any silly season move from last year. Getting the guy that teamed up with Byron to win a bunch of Truck Series races a few years ago and bringing him over, poaching him almost from Toyota, from KBM, that was huge. That should never have flown under the radar the way that it did, and it's paying dividends on the big stage today. They look great. This is the best William Byron has looked in his Cup career. Alex Bowman looks super comfortable despite still technically not having a contract for next season. They haven't, as far as any of us know, they have not put pen to paper yet, even though it seems very likely he will return for at least one more season. But now, Alex Bowman is a 2-time winner for the first time in his NASCAR Cup Series career. If that doesn't help seal the deal, I don't know what will. Hopefully Ally likes what they're seeing, because I think all of Alex Bowman's fan base likes what they're seeing quite a bit. I hope he stays with Hendrick. I think he will, but point is, he looks comfortable either way. Chase Elliott, even though he has not won a race yet this season, is anybody really panicked about Chase Elliott? Is anyone really that worried? We still got 5 more road courses beginning this weekend at COTA before the playoffs even began. Nobody's really worried about Chase. I think he's going to win a race before the playoffs. Either way, he'll certainly point his way in, and then you just got to win the right races at the right time, and you can make it all the way to Phoenix for the championship. So no one's that worried about Chase Elliott. Kyle Larson is interesting. This is Kyle Larson's 3rd second-place finish on the season. He does have a win. He won that race at Las Vegas earlier in the year. But FS1 put up a graphic late in this race showing some of Kyle Larson's career statistics. He has 7 career wins, most of them with Chip Ganassi Racing, but he has, after today, I believe, 18 second-place finishes. 7 firsts versus 18 seconds. They showed a graphic on FS1 today. That is the worst ratio of any active driver in the NASCAR Cup Series. It begs the question, is that Kyle Larson's Achilles heel? Is his one and only weakness, it seems, the fact that he doesn't always close out races. That may not be an entirely fair statement, because if you look at the 3 races this season, Atlanta, yeah, maybe he didn't close the deal. He had the best car in that race, had huge leads early on, and then used his stuff up in stage 3 and got passed by Ryan Blaney at the very end. Okay, maybe Atlanta, that's on Kyle Larson a little bit. But Darlington last week, yes, he finished second, but he never had the best car in that race. The fact that he was in second was extremely impressive. The fact that he challenged Truex last week as well as he did, that was impressive. So that one doesn't really count. That was impressive. That wasn't a disappointment. And then today, yes, he finished second again when he might have had the best car, but this race was really won and lost, in Larson's case, on pit road. In the middle of stage 3, there were pit stops. Alex Bowman's team, who was on it all day, beat Kyle Larson's team straight up. They showed the replay. Larson's rear tire changer seemed to struggle a little bit, and that cost Kyle Larson the lead, cost him the control of the restart. And Kyle Larson said it best, I think, in his post-race interview. The 4 Hendrick cars were pretty dang equal today, and Dover's already a difficult track to pass at, so really it was whoever got out front after a restart, it was going to be very difficult for them to lose the lead to one of their teammates because the cars were all just that equal. Kyle Larson was able to hang with Bowman for a while late in that final run, but started to fade. He ended up losing the race by about 1.5 seconds, so he really was not within striking distance by the end. Is this race on Kyle Larson? I don't really think so. I mean, sure, after the speed he showed early in the race, you'd have liked to see him go up there and pass Alex Bowman. He feels like he could have done that. He had the car capable of doing that, but didn't. But today was more on the pit crew than anything. When all 4 Hendrick cars are that fast, that similar, that equal, the pit crews often can be the deciding factor, and they really were today, and that's where Larson lost the race. So that's not on Kyle Larson, but it is an interesting narrative that could come into play later this season. Whether it's all Larson's fault, whether it's just maybe just vibes at this point, maybe it's just karma that causes Larson to finish second more than he finishes first. I'm not sure what it is, but you can't deny the statistics. 7 wins, 18 second place finishes. We got to get those numbers more equal. You got to start winning more. You can't keep coming up a close second. It's fun to talk about, oh, almost had him, get him next week, but at some point you got to break through and get wins. Wins are more valuable today in NASCAR than they ever have been with this format and the format we've had the last few years. You got to find victory lane, and they didn't get that done here today. So right now, they're like the Fantastic Four. They all have a superpower. Kyle Larson, it's pure speed. Chase Elliott, he's the defending champion, great road course racer. Alex Bowman's got the most wins. William Byron's been the most consistent. I mean, pick your poison. Hendrick Motorsports has it all. They're in a really, really good place. Remember 3 years ago, we really weren't sure about Hendrick Motorsports. They lost Dale Earnhardt Jr. They lost Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane. Jimmy Johnson was not the same Jimmy Johnson he once was. We were talking 3-4 years ago about what the future of Hendrick Motorsports looked like. Was William Byron going to pan out? Was it the right decision to put Alex Bowman in the 88? We weren't sure because for a couple of years, nobody was winning. Chase Elliott wasn't even winning for a couple of years there. But now they've all found their stride, and Hendrick Motorsports looks like the team to beat more often than not. So a great run today by Hendrick. Close but no cigar again for Kyle Larson, but Alex Bowman is the beneficiary. Second win of the season. Again, only trailing Martin Truex Jr. Now, let's put this race on the Groovy Gauge and let's get out of here. The Groovy Gauge is presented by Swan Security. Similar to last week's race at Darlington, I feel like today's race at Dover was kind of just NASCAR going through the motions, Long runs, some pretty good battles deep in the field. I thought Fox did a pretty good job, especially in the first 2 stages, of showing those competitive battles. We spent a lot of time watching battles for like 15th, 16th place because that's where the action really was. And so I'm glad TV did a pretty good job of showing a lot of that. You had a couple of wrecks, some blown tires in the case of, Almirola and maybe Chase Briscoe. You had some spins, some contact perhaps when Ricky Stenhouse seemed to just drive through Anthony Alfredo late in this race. I'm not sure what Tricky Ricky was up to there, but you had at least some of that controversy. Pit road, pit crews came into play. They helped decide the finish of this thing. And at the end of the day, the best team and probably the best car won. I mean, what more can you really ask for? You need some of these just solid average NASCAR races to make the great exceptional moments feel all that more special. So I'm going to give today's race, it was the Dryden 400, correct, at Dover. I'm going to give it honestly the same score I gave last week's Darlington race. I'm going to give this one a 55% as well. I've always heard that Dover is one of those tracks that's more fun to watch in person because you can really see the elevation changes. You can see the slipping and sliding out of every single turn. And while you get some of that effect on TV, they can only show you so much at any given time. This is a track that I've always wanted to go visit. Unfortunately, it's up in Delaware. I've never even been to Delaware, so it's kind of out of my way, but I'd like to go there sometime soon and really see and get the full experience in person because I just have the feeling that TV is not quite doing it justice. Not a bad race day by by any means, but not a thriller, not a stunner or anything like that. Just a really impressive run by the Hendrick Chevrolets and some fun moments mixed in as well. So that's my score for today's race. What would you guys give the Dryden 400? That's gonna do it for this episode, y'all. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR news, rumors, predictions every single day here at Out of the Groove. We also do race reviews every weekend, just like this one, so subscribe for a whole lot more. As always, a huge thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters. I couldn't do this show without your incredible support. Plenty more to come. It's Circuit of the Americas week, y'all. I'll be in Austin this coming weekend, filming some stuff, doing some stuff, so I'm very excited about that. Lots to talk about between now and then, I'm sure. A brand new track to NASCAR, a pretty new track overall. It's only been open like 9 years, so gonna be a great time. Hope to see a lot of y'all there. I will see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your weekend.